For homicide detectives, their chance of solving a murder is cut in half if they don't get a lead within the first 48 hours. Cleveland, Ohio, 12 a.m. A cold autumn night in a downtown housing complex is pierced by the sound of gunfire.
911, what's the city? Hey, man, I got an emergency if my just got shot. Hey, bro, you hit? You good, man?
Let me talk to EMS, okay?
Man, hurry up, man, hurry up.
Paramedics race to the scene and find a man lying unconscious and alone in the courtyard. He is rushed to the hospital, but he dies.
We're going to a area that I'm very familiar with when I was a young patrolman. There's a lot of robberies, a lot of drugs, and a lot of murders.
Detective Nate Soa is a 31-year veteran of Cleveland PD. Since joining homicide in 2005, he's investigated more than 250 murders.
The ones that bother me are the ones where I know who did it. I just can't prove it. I don't like to fail. It's got to be about, what, 25 degrees out here?
At least it ain't snowing.
Soa's partner, Detective Raymond Diaz, worked robberies before coming to homicide 6 years ago.
Top of the morning.
How you doing, sir? We got it as a gunshot wound.
Male shot?
Yeah, male shot. Basically, when I rolled up, EMS was working on him. About 5 minutes later, they conveyed him to Metro. The victim's name is Leandre Meredith.
32-year-old Leandre Meredith grew up in Cleveland with 4 sisters. He worked at the Cleveland Browns Stadium and hoped to one day open his own business.
I stopped at Metro on the way in. Victim sustained 1 gunshot wound to his back.
Okay, where was he at?
He's right here.
We're going to look for some shell casings. What's this?
It's a good casing.
Little 22.
They find 2 .22 caliber casings a few feet from where Leandre fell.
Looks to me like he knew something was going on. He tried to run and he was shot in the back and died.
Yeah.
And in this case, where you have a dark area, this time of night, nobody around, it's going to be difficult.
The detectives head to Leandre's family's apartment near the crime scene.
We have to go make sure Mom's aware that her son's been killed. It is the worst thing. Never gets easy.
Police, Mr. Johnson.
Soa and Diaz break the news of Leandre's death.
I'm sorry for your loss. Did you know who he was going to see tonight?
The family doesn't have any information that can help the detectives.
Thank you.
Thank you.
There's no witnesses to speak of. We don't have a name of a suspect. We don't even, we have nothing like that. All we have is a body and a couple shell casings. The sun comes up, we'll come back and try to find some witnesses.
Four hours later, Soa and Diaz return to canvass the complex.
It happened, like right here, right? This is a makeshift memorial for Leandre. All of his family and friends signed the poster here. Everyone's showing their love for him.
Somebody saw something.
They head up to the apartments facing the crime scene, hoping to find a witness.
Can we talk to you for a minute?
You hearing anything?
They said he was dead. That's it.
What all did you see?
Couldn't tell you. It was dark.
No luck again. 10 apartment buildings. Nobody's seen nothing. We're gonna head back to the office and start looking up Leandre's friends to see if they can give us a lead. Homicide Unit Diaz. All right, thanks. Yeah, this is good. There's a female that lives in the apartment that overlooks where the shooting happens. It seemed like she had first-hand knowledge of who did this. We can meet her outside of that neighborhood.
She's scared, but she's gonna meet us over at the Burger King about a block away.
Probably them right there.
Hi, how are you? I'm Soa, he's Diaz.
What all did you see or hear?
I was asleep and I heard gunshots. So I looked out my window. I seen people running both directions. And I went outside and I seen Dre laying on the ground and somebody standing over him.
Do you know who the person was standing over him?
His name is Tone. Tone was on the phone with the ambulance.
She says that Tone was trying to resuscitate the victim.
Tone started doing the chest compressions and then he stopped because they couldn't get him to breathe. And then I seen Tone went through the boy's pockets.
Why'd he do that?
Saying that he was trying to see if he had any blood on him because he didn't want him to get in trouble for it.
Okay.
So after that, we seen the EMS on Central Side and Tone disappeared.
Okay. Do you know Tone's real name?
No.
She describes Tone as a black male with light brown hair.
All right, thank you.
You were.
16 hours in, Soa and Diaz have a person of interest.
I don't have too many so-called friends that would, if I got shot, would go through my pockets.
Why do you hang around if you shot the guy?
And why do you call 911 and the EMS? Tone's the guy that we want to talk to. The next step is where we find out who he is.
Back at Homicide,
Right now, the key is just trying to get him identified.
detectives search for men named Tone, fitting the witness's description.
Come on. You're kidding me.
But they can't find a match in the database.
You got nothing. I wonder if I got the 911 calls.
Desperate for leads, Soa and Diaz listen to the 911 call allegedly made by Tone.
Cleveland EMS is fire. Hey, man, I got an emergency. My just got shot. Can I have your name, please?
Dallas, Texas. 8 p.m. A quiet night in the residential neighborhood of South Dallas. A woman checks in on her elderly neighbor and makes a shocking discovery.
Dallas 911, what's your emergency?
My neighbor is on the floor. She's covered in blood.
We have fire and police heading out that way.
Police and paramedics rush to the house and find the woman wrapped in a blood-soaked sheet, dead.
Well, we just got finished eating dinner at the house, wife and kids, and I got a call from the sergeant saying that there's been a homicide.
Lead Detective Tommy Raley is a 22-year veteran of Dallas PD. He worked in the robbery unit before coming to homicide in 2007.
Going out to southeast Dallas. Elderly female found dead. Hey, Tim.
Tommy.
We got.
Older lady lives here at the house. Her sister and some friends of hers come over to check on her this evening. Found her. She's dead.
Let's go inside.
She's laying down here in the hall outside the bathroom. I think we have a very brutal attack on an elderly woman.
72-year-old grandmother Mauda Erskine spent her entire life in South Dallas. After retiring as a factory supervisor in 1988, she taught Sunday school and sang in the choir at her local church.
There's a lot of linens on top of her, and it looks like they're wrapped around her. Some of them are bloody.
The team removes the sheets to determine how the victim was killed.
Oh my God.
It's terrible.
Blunt force injuries.
Fractures to the back of the skull.
There's a lot of splatter down at the bottom. It's real bad. He caught her right here in the hallway and beat her to death.
What time do we think she was killed?
The medical examiner determines that Mauda was killed between 6 and 8 that evening.
Well, what's the weapon of choice?
It looks like there's some trace of that hammer that's out there.
Hanging off the couch.
Yeah.
The team finds a possible murder weapon near the front door.
Basically, you got 3 bedrooms. None of it looks like it's been, I mean, it looks pretty normal to us.
No ransack of the house.
No, the rest of it looks all ordinary.
One of the friends came in to check on her, and she's actually the one that found her. I think we should get a statement from her.
Rayleigh and Detective Tim Stewart head over to speak with the family friend who discovered the victim.
Hey, Ruth, when you came over, what happened?
Just brought her sister over here. The neighbor said that her car was not here.
After realizing that Mauda's car was missing, they became worried that she may have been driving after dark.
Her sister was concerned because she suffered with Alzheimer's.
She might have drove off.
Yeah. We were going to go in and see if we could find the license plate number and stuff so we could give the information to you all. We had no idea we were going to face what we saw.
Right.
When you got here, was it the door locked?
Yeah, all the doors were locked.
No, Ricky. The person who did this took her car and locked the door on their way out.
Hey, Paul.
Stewart puts out a bolo on the victim's missing Nissan Altima.
Okay, all right. Thanks, Paul. Okay. Whoever did this needs to be caught in the car. That'd be good.
Oh, he needs a big time caught in that car.
Yeah.
I'll be working throughout the night into the morning.
Rayleigh speaks with Mauda's family and friends who have gathered outside her house.
As things develop, I'll call you and let you know as far as the progress goes.
Why can't we go in there and woo our grandmother?
This homicide, you won't see her until she gets to a funeral home. I'm sorry.
Little old innocent lady, man. Very vicious. Just, you know, it's just brutal. Just really is.
She was a very sweet person. She would really try to do whatever she could for you. She would give you the clothes off her back. She has a little Alzheimer's now, and I think they took advantage of that.
We need to get whoever did this.
The team canvasses the neighborhood, hoping that someone can provide a lead on Mauda's killer.
I'm Detective Stewart. You know what happened?
Not at all.
Okay. Thanks.
What happened? Anybody who has good information.
Hey, hold him up a minute.
Then,
Tommy, I got something. We got a lead on possible suspect. Anyway.
A neighbor claims to have seen a suspicious man over at Mauta's house 2 days before the murder.
Neighbor guy is the best witness, but I think we probably should get a statement from him.
Yeah, we'll take him downtown.
Yeah. He's gonna run you down.
Okay.
All right, we'll be down in a few minutes.
Rayleigh sends Detective Derek Cheney back to homicide to interview the neighbor.
I talked to you a little, but you said that. Did you hear them arguing?
This like 2 days ago.
The neighbor says he heard the suspicious man yelling at Mauta inside her house.
They're arguing about money. You know you should give me some money. I'm some kin to you. And I kept hearing her say, I don't have any money. I don't have any money.
Was he saying it in like a threatening way?
He was super loud. Yeah, it's rage.
And you know him about
Little James. They call him Little James.
He only knows the man by his nickname, Little James.
And she allowed this guy to move freely in and out of the house.
And then that day with the argument, when he walked out and left, I said, Miss Ma, who is that guy to you?
Mauta told him that she was related to Little James through a previous marriage.
I said, Miss Marta, you all right? I said, no, ain't nothing I can't handle, babe. And I left it alone.
Here we are. You got the guy's name?
Yeah, the guy's street name is Little James.
I'm gonna call her sister. Hey, Miss Miles, this is Detective Rayleigh.
Rayleigh calls Mauta's family to see if they know Little James. They say the man is 19-year-old James Mitchell and that he's been going over to Mauta's house lately.
Thank you very much. Whoa.
Rayleigh discovers that James has a previous conviction for assaulting a police officer and an open warrant for a probation violation.
He's got a warrant right now from another agency, so we'll be able to pick him up and bring him in. We just got to find him now. Hey, this is Detective Rayleigh, Dallas PD homicide.
Rayleigh calls in the Fugitive Apprehension Strike Team to hit James's last known address.
Right now we have address on a target. We're gonna go try to door knock it, wake somebody up right now and say hello in our own special way. Somebody get to the back. Police!
In Cleveland, detectives are investigating the murder of 32-year-old Leandre Meredith, found shot in the back.
Hey, man, I got an emergency. My just got shot.
Detectives Nate Soa and Ray Diaz are trying to identify their person of interest, whose street name is Tone.
Can I have your name, please?
If Tone's involved, why in the hell would he call the ambulance?
Because I didn't do it. Playing off is actually coming to the victim's aid.
Just can't see someone calls 911, stays on with EMS up until the police come in and leaves as being the killer.
I don't know. I think he's involved.
We have to focus on trying to find Tone. We gotta get lucky somewhere.
The next day, the case takes an unexpected turn.
Homicide Unit SOA.
A woman has filed a missing persons report about a man matching Tone's description.
All right, thanks. A woman was calling because she was concerned about her son. She hasn't heard from him since Saturday. Her neighbors are telling her, well, the reason you haven't seen him is he's on the run. He killed a guy. The son that she's concerned about is Anthony Ogletree, so he could be our Tone.
Soa pulls up a picture of Anthony Ogletree to see if he matches Tone's description.
Looks like him.
He then looks up Anthony's record and discovers that he has an arrest warrant for an armed robbery.
Tone allegedly was involved in a robbery a week or so before our homicide, where a .22 was used in the robbery shooting, and we have a .22 used in our homicide.
So it's looking more like Tone's the shooter.
Well, I think it's our guy. Mom also says she keeps trying his cell phone, and this girl keeps answering. Her apartment is up in the projects near where our homicide occurred. So we're going over to check the friend's apartment to see if he's there.
Soa heads to the apartment and meets up with the robbery unit.
How you doing?
Good. Well, let's go get him.
Police.
We got the key.
The housing police open the door to the apartment.
Police.
Hello? There's nobody home. Get out of here. No signs of Tone. It almost looks like they vacated and just left what they didn't want or couldn't carry.
As the clock runs out on the first 48,
This is gonna be a nightmare.
Soa's prime suspect has disappeared. In the first 48, Cleveland Homicide responded to the shooting death of 32-year-old Leandre Meredith, discovered spent casings that may have come from the murder weapon, learned from a witness that a man named Tone was standing over the victim, searched for the possible suspect, but have been unable to locate Tone. Several days later, the case takes another turn.
She's saying that her life was in jeopardy because friends of our victim were going to retaliate against her.
The suspect's friend has come forward.
Oh, she could be a co-defendant if she participated in the crime. She could be just a witness, or she could be nothing. So we'll see. I'm Nate Sola. This is my partner, Ray Diaz. You were receiving some threats from people regarding the shooting of Dre.
People have come into my house, banging on my door. They're trying to say Anthony got something to do with it.
She says she fled her apartment and hasn't seen Tone since the shooting.
It's too much, and I feel like you didn't want it to happen to me and my son.
Did he ever tell you that he shot Dre? If you tell the truth, you're in good shape. If you lie, we look at you poorly.
I guess he was on the scene. He called 911. He ain't say he did or had any involvement.
Really? I think that's a big fat lie.
Why?
Just the way you're answering the questions.
You realize where you're at, right?
Yes.
This is the homicide unit. If we find out you're lying about anything, we're going to charge you with obstructing, and I'll guarantee you get jail time for it.
This night before this even happened, a guy named Snoop was over.
She says she overheard Tone and his friend, DeMarcus Krosky, known as Snoop, talk about robbing Dre.
They were planning this robbery of Dre beforehand.
Now this, after this, he left. A couple of hours later, he came back. That he told me that Snoop shot him and they ran.
Have you ever seen Anthony with a gun before?
I know he got a little gun. It's a little one black.
I'm going to ask you something. Is he in your place? You hiding him out? If you got to think about it, I know you're lying. Where is he?
She gives them several addresses in East Cleveland where Tone may be hiding.
Don't let us find out that you're talking to him. Stay away from him.
According to the friend, it was a robbery, and that's how Leandre got killed. We've got enough evidence now to get warrants.
SOA calls in the Violent Fugitive Task Force to pick up Snoop and Tone. Over the next week, the task force hits several locations looking for their two suspects. Then, they find Tone hiding in a house with his friend.
What are you doing? What did we tell you when you left here? I tried like hell to work for you on this, and I warned you, and I guess none of that sunk in. Right now you're looking at obstructing justice. You're gonna go over to jail and get booked in.
We're going to go in there and talk to Anthony Ogletree, try to get the truth out of him. Anthony, we're from the homicide unit. Yeah. We're investigating Leandre Meredith's death. What happened that night?
In the Dallas homicide of 72-year-old Mauda Erskine, found beaten to death in her home, detectives have identified a person of interest, James Mitchell. Now, the U.S. Marshals have surrounded his house.
Police! James! Is James in there with you?
The woman says she only recently moved into the house.
You don't know him? They didn't know anything about nothing. Address we had, so about 2 months old.
The FAST team continues searching through the night for Mauda's stolen car and her possible killer. The next morning,
this is Detective Rayleigh.
They get a break. James is picked up on a downtown street after a resident calls in a tip.
Got the guy in custody. He wasn't in the car, so I'm not 100% right now that he did it.
About 3 steps in the room, face the back wall for him. Arm straight up. Take a check of him.
Tommy, here's something.
The team finds suspicious stains on James's clothing.
Sure looks like blood to me. We'll process the sweater, but that's something that will take weeks, so I really need him to give me a confession today so that I'd be able to put him in jail. Hey, James. I'm Detective Rayleigh. There's an incident I'm looking into, and your name came up. The best way to do it is let's man up with each other and be honest. You understand?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Are you tired or something? You just kind of...
Not really, just a little confused.
We'll clear it all up, okay?
In the Dallas homicide of 72-year-old grandmother Mauda Erskine, detectives are interviewing their possible suspect, James Mitchell. But without enough evidence to charge him, they need him to talk.
Are you willing to talk to me?
I need a lawyer, President.
All right. I'll have the guys transfer you to jail. Well, that didn't go like I wanted to. But I mean, I can't ask him anything else about the case. He's got warrants. I need to hold him on that.
Rayleigh can hold James on the probation violation while he keeps working Mauta's case.
I'll keep his sweater. I want to get blood transfer off that.
I'd take all his clothing.
I got a lot of work to do now.
Then, 15 minutes later,
hey, Sarge.
Rayleigh gets the call he's been waiting for.
Wait. They got the car with some money in it.
Patrol has located the victim's stolen Nissan.
Luck would have it, they found the car, and there was a guy in that car. The location where the complainant's car was recovered was across the street from where our person of interest, James, was at. How's that happen? I just got to piece it together now. We're going to want that car towed and processed. We'll see who's in that car.
30 minutes later, Patrol arrives with Mauta's car and the man caught sitting in the driver's seat.
This guy has a lot of jewelry, women's jewelry, in his pocket.
Beautiful, beautiful. A lot of this depends on what this guy tells me. And he very well could be part of it. We're gonna go talk to him and find out what's going on, why he has our car. How you doing? Detective Rayleigh. Okay. Why do you think you're down here?
I have no clue.
That car you're driving was stolen.
Okay.
And the officers, they said they saw some jewelry on you. Go ahead and take that out for me and put it on the table. Whose jewelry is that?
In the Cleveland shooting death of 32-year-old Leandre Meredith, detectives are hoping that their main suspect, Anthony Ogletree, will come clean about the murder.
What happened that night?
This one happened.
Yes.
I was riding a bike.
He claims he was riding his bike through the courtyard when he came upon Leandre's body.
I'm like, dang, that my Drake. I called 911. I stood there till the ambulance and the police came.
Really?
Were you with Snoop before that?
No, I wasn't with nobody.
Do you have a gun?
No, never had a gun.
You have sat there and you told us a boatload of lies.
Everything from who you were with, all that's...
You're wanted for Leandre Meredith's death.
I ain't shoot nobody. He was my dude.
Okay.
I want to call the ambulance for him.
You're full of again. Sorry, Anthony.
Yeah, you're not unique. He's trying to convince us that this was one of his good friends. I think that's his ploy to make us believe, hey, I didn't have nothing to do with this. But we don't have the gun yet. I'd really like to find the gun.
We need to find that gun. It's a key part of this case.
The detectives head to the house where Tone was captured, hoping to find the murder weapon.
I think the gun's here.
How you doing? Detective Diaz? My partner, Detective Soul. We're from the homicide unit. Look around.
What's this? .22. Semi-automatic pistol. Our murder is committed with a .22. If this is a murder weapon, that is not just a nail in his coffin. That's a box of nails driven in with a 5-pound sledgehammer. Anthony, found the gun. It's a .22. sent in. We have the warrant for the other guy, for Snoop, and we need to get him arrested.
We'll focus our attention on trying to find him.
The next day, the detectives get a lucky break. Snoop turns himself in.
Ask for a lawyer right away. So that's fine. We're not going to get anything from him today. We're just going to book him into the jail.
Right now, everything's pointing in the direction that this was a robbery gone bad. These guys knew Dre had money on him, and they went out there to rob him. And I think that Tone thought he was smarter than anyone by making the call to 911 to cover his tracks, and Dre lost his life over this.
In the Dallas beating death of 72-year-old Mauda Erskine, detectives are holding their person of interest, James Mitchell. Now, Rayleigh is questioning a man found in the victim's stolen car with jewelry in his pocket.
Whose jewelry is that? James? You told me to hold it for him.
He says James Mitchell, Rayleigh's possible suspect, gave him the jewelry.
What time did you hook up with him?
Say about 10 o'clock yesterday.
He says he ran into James at a club 2 hours after Mauda's body was found.
I just happened to see him there. They asked me did I want to go to Cali with him, get some money out there.
Where'd y'all lay y'all's head at last night?
Last night, we was at this.
After leaving the club, they spent the night in South Dallas. Then James asked him to drive back downtown.
Was he nervous or anything of that nature?
Yeah, very nervous. He kept on telling me, drive the car right, man, drive the car right. I guess he didn't want to be stopped.
Before you hooked up with him, who can verify that you were doing whatever you're doing and not with James?
My mom and my sister.
He says he was at his mother's apartment during the time that Mauda was killed.
What's her name?
He gives Rayleigh her contact information. The detectives check his alibi.
She's verified that story.
He's a good witness now.
We're gonna cut this guy loose. You've been honest with me on everything that you've done with him. I don't feel that I need to put you in jail right now. Okay?
Yeah.
This jewelry here was on our suspect. So I'm gonna show this to the family and hopefully they'll identify it as being the complainants. This is Detective Rayleigh. I need a favor.
Rayleigh reaches out to the victim's family.
I need you guys to come down here right away and look at this jewelry and tell me if it's your sister's jewelry or not.
20 minutes later.
Come right over here and have a seat. If any of that look like it belongs to your sister?
Mauda's family recognizes the jewelry.
So you're telling me that this jewelry was kept at your sister's house in her back room?
Yes.
All right, well, I appreciate the help. Thanks for coming out. She identified the property right off the bat. With that being in his possession, the complainant's vehicle being in his possession, that's enough for me to file a capital murder warrant. No problem.
Only 23 hours into the first 48, Rayleigh closes his case.
This was a senseless killing. She was an elderly woman who was at home just trying to take care of herself. The family, I talked to them, they're very appreciative. They would have liked some closure. They would have liked to know why she was killed, but we don't have any explanation. She was truly an innocent victim.